Washington is more divided than ever. But it can't always be like this. We want to know if there's still room for compromise on Capitol Hill. Forget about party, forget about politics. Can anyone here just get along? To find out, I'm going to have to leave Capitol Hill and look for lawmakers in their natural habitat. Coffee's a bipartisan beverage, right? This is Congressman Tom Reed. He's a Republican and heading up President Trump's re-election campaign in New York. And next to him is Congressman Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey who voted to impeach the president. But more importantly, these two guys are friends. They co-chair the Problem Solvers Caucus and talk to me about what can get done in Washington.
I met Josh down in New York City as he was campaigning, and we were going through the country saying, look, there's a lot of members that are just saying enough is enough.
Yeah, someone told me you got to meet Tom Reed, and I said, okay, listening, and I said, well, I agree with a lot of what he has to say. We then sat down together after I was elected and right in the beginning of the Congress. We brought the gang back together.
That's how we evolved.
And that's how we started.
So we were an informal group of Problem Solvers Caucus members. We officially put the bylaws together, officially made member commitments to each other, like you will vote with us when we get to 75%. You will not campaign against somebody from the other side. Those are like, you would think a lot of times that would be like accepted, and like people back home are like, well, if he's a good person, why don't you just, or he or she's a good person, why don't you just do that? And it's like, it's not how it works here. And so what we did is, I think, groundbreaking.
No one realizes, because all they see, usually on TV or on social media, are people yelling at each other, and we get together every single week and sit at a table and say, where are the places we can actually govern and get along and agree?
When I first met him, I'm like, okay, great, New Jersey, great, we'll see.
Even though you're from New York.
New York, so there's a bridge right there. We got to kind of bridge that through, try to
work that alone.
But we found common ground on the Yankees, so there you go. I got to know him, we started talking to each other, and from that, it wasn't like, overnight we became really good friends. It's just over time. I know I can trust him, and I know I can talk to him about anything. Down here in D.C., there's not too many people. I mean, Truman had a best. If you want a friend in D.C., get a dog.
I lost my mother about 1.5 years ago, and which is, anyone's been through that, it's an awful thing. And at the funeral, I look out, and well, Tom's sitting there, drove 4+ hours out of his way on the way home to be there, and that's what you do for friends and people you care about. And that's kind of the whole approach on the Problem Solvers Caucus is we look out for each other. We disagree plenty, we have, but we do it in a constructive way.
Members of Congress are human beings. We're human beings too. So of course I'm going to show up because he's a good friend. He's not an adversary. He's not a member of the Democratic Party. I mean, he's struggling. He's having a hard time. When I went down on national TV with pneumonia, I passed out. The guy I came around to was this guy over my gurney. Like, what the heck's going on?
You screamed first, but then
I'm like, that shocked me back into life. I said, oh my God, I'm going. The elf is here. I'm going the distance.
So someone immediately,
it was like a
someone
live
texted me or
FaceTime.
called me. It was someone called me and said something happened to Tom, and I just took off and ran. They say he's in the cannon tunnel, so we took off and just make sure he was okay.
And then we laughed a little bit as I was getting wheeled out because
exactly.
You got to joke too. I mean, life is too short.
I claimed, which by the way was proven afterwards. You said at the end of the day, I'm really a Democrat, Josh.
It's all inside DC baseball and things like that. But by reforming the rules of the House for members who do the work, get to know each other, and get large bipartisan support for a piece of legislation, to make sure that legislation has an opportunity to have a vote on the floor of the House. That to me is our legacy reform, and we're going to build off it even further.
Just in the last months, whether it's repealing the Cadillac tax or the medical device tax, or making sure
the widow's tax, the Gold Star families, we got that worked in the defense bill.
But they're helping. We worked very hard for 9/11, the Victims' Compensation Fund for 9/11 victims, which was stuck. We worked very hard in the last months on USMCA, which is the trade deal with Mexico and Canada. So, we really got behind. We worked hard to stop a couple of the shutdowns that were hanging out there. Criminal justice reform was something we worked on very early on. And these are things we sat in rooms for 50, 75 hours at night. The lights are off, just putting whiteboards up, members sitting around a table saying, can we come together on a bipartisan agreement?
There's been thousands of exchanges that I've witnessed in the Problem Solvers Caucus world where people are talking past each other. And so like gun control, even I was like, whoa, I'm a Second Amendment, believe in the Second Amendment, to protect the Second Amendment. And then they're like, well, I'm not really talking about gun control. I'm talking about, can we make the environment safer for our kids in school? It's just one example of, that language that gets people.
There are plenty of people in Washington who really want to work together to get things done. And we're going to disagree on certain areas, but can we find common ground? Can we find that 80% solution? And that's really what we're about.
These dialogues don't happen in D.C. because no one can trust each other, because if I said something about impeachment on the floor of the House or in a hearing room or to somebody I don't even know, next thing I know, it's out on, it's on a Twitter feed that's being used against me for political purposes. And it allows you to have an honest conversation. And when you can have that honest conversation, you find out, well, we're not going to be able to agree on this. And so we just move past it. And that's kind of what, where I think impeachment happened with most of us in the PSC. It's just, it became one of those issues where we're not going to find consensus on it, and we move forward.
You have to have the conversation. You have to be willing to have the conversation, and you have to be willing for it to not work out. We were still in the middle of that, in the middle of the impeachment inquiry. We were still working on trade and
ag labor.
And ag labor. Oh yeah,
we came to a consensus position on ag labor as impeachment was going down in the House, where we got to 75% consensus on some ag labor reforms.
So people come up to you, you're like on the House floor saying, "Hey, we really think you should support this." And I said, "What are you bringing up? What's this about?" "Oh no, we think we can get this.
Why aren't we all talking about
this bill done?"
And we're like, because there's like millions of Americans that need labor on their farms, and there's dysfunction in our immigration system. So the world doesn't shut down because this town is making a priority of impeachment. The American people are asking us to do more than just that.
Right, and we were talking about repealing the health insurance tax, and that's we're having this conversation in the middle, which we got done in the middle of the other issues boiling up. And that's what you have to realize. You have to keep working on it. You can't stop doing the other work.
Well, he's got to support the Giants because they're a New Jersey team.
Because they're a great team.
And when the Buffalo Bills have been a lifelong passion of mine. So, I come from Western New York, and Buffalo Bills Super Bowl next year.
And I feel for him because, they've just been in the wilderness for a very long time.
They took one away from us years ago, but who holds a grudge?
But he made a big New Year's commitment. He's going to start going to the gym more.
He's going to go with you?
Are you ready for that?
We're trying to honor that resolution, but like most of America, we've been struggling. So I'm watching Cheers right now to get a laugh every once in a while. So I love Cheers.
Are you watching old Cheers episodes?
I do. I'm like old school.
I take the train, he drives.
I drive.
He literally drives 6 hours, which means he picks up the phone all the time calling me. Right? I said, "Are you bored, or do you actually want to talk about something?" I have about 300 favorite songs, Springsteen. I guess I'll do Glory Days because that's the most obvious one that people can celebrate with me, and the lyrics are incredible. Do you love Springsteen?
I'm not a big Springsteen fan, to be quite honest.
Oh my God, that's it.
See,
it's over. Wait, you never told me that.
See, this is disclosure right here. So I am mocked incessantly by my family and my kids and my wife about I'm a soft rock kind of guy. Believe it or not.
But what about Sinatra?
So like Elton John, I'm a big fan of Elton John.
What about Sinatra?
I love Sinatra.
Okay, Jersey.
There you go.
That's fine. We'll take that. We'll take that.
I love that. I love that.
You never told me you didn't like
My Way is my favorite song. I love that song. But see, it's kind of slow, it's kind of thing, but I get picked on that all the time.
My Way? Is it always about your way?
No,
Reed?
I did it my way.
Oh man, we better end this.